Swing it, boys, swing for the fence. Shove it, boys, make 'em miss. Some big league chew in a baseball souvenir. Come on, sing with me now. The Joe is home, sweet home. It's roll, tide, roll. The Joe is home, that's right. Home, sweet home. Hey, look, is that Roll Tide Willie over there? Blitz, Bama, Blitz.
Hey, good evening and welcome, everybody. It's the Weekly Joe podcast. We're in our second season here with Crimson Crossover. Shout out Christian Sykes program. We're the baseball division, and we are gearing up for baseball in spite of it being in the teens and 20s. Where we all sit tonight, 3 weeks away, 3 weeks, 22 days? I saw a counter on the
23 today.
23 today? Okay, all right, so we're counting it down, getting much closer to that opening weekend at the Joe, where the hated Bradley Braves will come to town and for a 3-game set. I'm Paul Graham. I'm here tonight with, as usual, Roger Myers from the much warmer northern office, as the case would be today. We have Drew Champlin, of course, and Dr. Meghan Dennis from our South Carolina office, snooping in on the Chanticleers, and we'll get an update from Meghan on life and how things are going in the academic world. Everybody good? Everybody ready for ball?
Yeah, Roger. Who are our 23s?
23 LeBlanc.
He deserves a day to himself then.
Yeah, I told him when I did, I said I could have typed for like a week with all your accolades and records, school records and stuff. And anyway, tomorrow will be Mathis and Georgie.
Yep.
Yeah.
All 22s. Yep.
Yeah.
I thought about Gabe Scott, but he may have been 21.
He's 21.
21. Okay. Gotcha.
And I'll probably I'll have Gabe Scott and usually do Rooks, and I think I'm going to add Pinckney this year.
Yeah, It's probably.
I mean, usually I don't do them, until they've been gone for a few years. But I had to get Platera because 31's been a hard
tough number. Yeah.
We have one guy that probably best not to continue to use, but. So anyway, I had to throw him in there.
It's a little bit like the 5-year wait to get to the Hall of Fame.
Right?
You got to kind of, before you can get on Rogers' countdown tweets and posts, you kind of have to be out at least 5. Drew, you doing good? Everything good?
Yep, doing fantastic over here in Hoover. Not too far from you. Just getting over a cold.
Yeah,
and it's pretty cold outside. So
awesome.
Looking forward to warmer weather.
Right. And Dr. Dennis, tell us about life in academia. You're a semester into it.
Yeah.
The kids got any like mean names for you or anything like that, or you hit it off pretty well with them?
Overall, I think things are well. They want to keep me for next year at least, so I'll take that as a positive.
That's
trying to do our scouting report on our team we got coming up week, but they don't let you in as easily as it was getting to the Joe.
You don't have to. Maybe you have to tell them who you are, or drop Roger's name. Maybe
request a media credential.
Drop Mike Marson's name.
There you go. Yeah, Christian. Maybe Christian could get us a media credential and get you in there, but we'll see. But that's a good program. Obviously, they hung a banner in 2016, and are perennially right there. Probably be a lot of fun ball to watch. I imagine you'd be down there. Hope to see you back here a good bit though. Not too bad a drive, I hope.
9 hours, 10 hours.
About 10 hours. I'll definitely be there opening weekend.
Okay, but, awesome. All right.
It won't be like years past by any means.
Yeah. Well, good deal. Well, glad everyone's doing well. Looking forward to another season of this. It's early in the process right now. The guys aren't even fully out on the field as a team yet. Still doing some individual stuff, and I think Roger just mentioned they'll probably start into scrimmages in the practice scrimmages this Friday. I assume weather permitting, it is going to warm up a little bit and be a little better next week. At that point, we start kind of seeing a little more what the guys look like, where who looks good at this spot, who's throwing well, and we'll obviously have more and expect to record at least one more of these before that opener on the 14th of February, Valentine's Day, as it were, as our opener this year. So we'll get more into that. In the meantime, tonight, I thought what we do is just, I've got the schedule in front of me, and while the SEC, you usually in past years you kind of knew what you were getting. Now with the expanded conference and we're going to have the kind of the rotational opponents and a couple of the fixed opponents. It's going to be a lot different going forward. I think you're going to have a lot more variety in that conference schedule going forward, and it'll start this year for us as it were with the the first series with the Sooners. First off, going into the preseason or the non-conference, we got Bradley coming in. North Dakota State will come in. They're one of those winter refugees that probably spends a lot of their time in the West and the South early on. And we have Presbyterian coming in, and then we've got the 3-game weekend in Jacksonville, Florida, with Coastal, NC State, and Ohio State. Looking forward to that. Of the non-conference schedule there, but anybody got who strikes the most fear in you, or which one gives you a little anxiety, or any of them?
Probably Coastal and NC State.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just from reputation and name brand.
Yeah.
I won't pretend to know anything about Bradley MTSU middle. Midweek has at times been a problem, but
they've been challenged. Yeah, no doubt.
The Alabama State, that's not anything. And your normal in-state battles. Well, Troy, I guess.
Troy, of course, yeah.
They're catching a lot of love with preseason rankings.
Right, no doubt. Speaking of, as you get into it's the typical schedule. Remember, and you see what happens about 1st of November. I'm starting to track this thing and build it, and we kind of know who to expect for the midweek games. You see pretty much the usual suspects. What you're a year into the Vaughn era, or the second year now. Drew, you like to see some things different on the schedule, some teams maybe in the area. Logistics are obviously an issue, but what would you like to see?
I kind of wish we had like a 3-game series against Troy or South Alabama at home. I know it'd be more challenging than Bradley or North Dakota State, but and then you lose the midweek games more than likely. But I don't know, maybe some of those other schools play midweeks against each other.
Yeah.
Presbyterian, it seems like we play them almost every year. It feels like we played them a lot lately. So, I don't know. I would say the Troy series is going to be really tough, especially down there, because they've got a lot of big, heavy hitters and a lot of talent. They're going to be looking forward to play in Alabama after last couple of years. So, of course, the away game against them is not even until May. Checking the schedule now, but don't know much about the non-conference. I know week 2 down in Jacksonville is just going to be tough because those are bigger names, probably have better players. But pretty excited about what we got on the mound, and then just going to have to see what happens offensively with these guys.
Yeah. Meghan, upgrades you'd like to see maybe in those first 4 weeks in the future, or anyone in the immediate area you'd love it? Would you could we get Georgia Tech on the schedule? Could you get Georgia Southern, some of those in the next state over?
I definitely would like to see it. I don't know if there's anyone in particular that would come in to mind, but I think it is one where it's just like, how much challenge are we getting beforehand? The SEC is going to be the SEC, and that's all going to play out. But
there's plenty, right? Yeah.
Are we helping that RPI when it gets later into the year if we're not playing those games early?
Yeah, exactly. Or do you just rely on the RPI? Just win those games, and the SEC RPI will take care of itself. Yeah, I guess the good thing that those types of series early on, and the midweek games with the Alabama States of the world, is with a lot of young pitchers, and you got to kind of sort out how are these guys going to do in game action, and you got to get them in innings. Sometimes I think the challenge there is we clip off those back 2 innings in a lot of these 10-run games, and you missed out on.
Exactly. You missed 2 at bats, and
Yeah.
Do you guys know what Bradley's record was last year? Anybody have a guess? I've got it in front of me.
17 and 38.
You're giving them too much credit, I think. Bradley last year, and I was hoping they'd be like a 24-24 team. They were 13-37-1 overall, and they were 6-21 in the conference. So, yeah, I wish we were playing someone a little better, but I don't really know how the logistics. I mean, that could have even been scheduled before
It could be,
the coaches got here, for all I know. So,
right.
Yeah, as long as if you play those games, just don't lose them. If you're going to lose, make sure it's to a team. I mean, baseball, you can screw around and lose to anybody, but just try to make sure those losses are to teams that aren't going to go 13-37-1.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that it looks like, I mean, at least based on 2 years looking at we're going to have our big road trip the second week, and it's going to be some kind of tournament where we play.
Yeah.
Have a chance to play 3 really good teams.
Yeah,
sure.
I like that.
And get a variety.
And with the SEC even tougher than it was.
Right.
I mean, I don't know that you need to do a whole lot more. At least because if you're fighting to, continuing to fight to be in the top half.
Yeah.
Of SEC, which, even if you're anywhere from 7 to 10, I don't know if going out and playing Arizona State or, Georgia Tech or Clemson, in addition to a weekend of playing 3 good teams is really conducive to like the RPIs and who you play in the SEC. There's not going to be a bad RPI game.
No, not at all.
But you don't necessarily want to play Mississippi Valley State.
No.
We probably have some people comparable to that.
That's right. Yeah, maybe Bradley, but and we do pick up North Alabama again this year. We've who's beaten us before, obviously at home, but that'll be the Huntsville game this year. We'll come to Birmingham and play at Regions. Home and home this year with Jack State, which is good. Those are always good competitive games, and usually a lot of familiar names and faces from the college ranks around here or the high school ranks around here, guys that we've seen growing up over the years. So pretty similar schedule, home and home with Sanford. Let's talk about the conference schedule, because you don't really get much of a you kind of dive right in the pool. The best team in the country this year on everybody's list is going to be Texas A&M. And Meghan, your thoughts on going to College Station to open the season in about 4+ weeks, 5 weeks maybe.
It's a rough place to play, but I also think maybe I want to hope that it's going to be a show that leaving us off these lists was a bad decision. Because I don't think we're getting a lot of fair recognition right now, how good we're going to be as a team. So if we can go into College Station and make some noise, I think that's a good sign for what the next 9 weekends are going to be.
Exactly. Drew, the transfer portal, the much more compressed, obviously, in baseball. The season ends in May, June, and guys declare and guys land where they're going to land within a month or so. It's not like football where it seems like it drags out forever. The clear winner of the transfer portal last year was A&M by not losing guys to the transfer portal, right?
Yeah, and then they got, what was his name, Gavin Cash from Texas Tech, the first one that comes to mind. And I'm sure they have filled their roster with, I'm not looking at any rankings right now. Was looking at our schedule because we have Texas A&M away and then Tennessee the second week. But yeah, they're just going to keep reloading out of the portal. I mean, we're going to get our guys a lot out of the portal as well. But I don't know how many guys who hit. I don't know that we're going to have anybody on our 2026 roster who's going to hit 20 home runs for a team this year. Yeah, that's they got a little bit more money to spend on baseball players than we do. And but maybe if they bringing more scholarships in will help that. But yeah, it's going to be tough down there. Hopefully we can steal a win.
Roger, that team, with the coaching change, of course, as we're, Schlossnagle leaving there, going to Texas, all the team declares in the transfer portal within about a week, they're all back. They all stayed. I mean, everybody of any consequence stayed. And they were a game away from winning it all last year. They're in that third game in Omaha with Tennessee. Does anyone in the conference, or are they overhyped? Does anyone in the conference touch them this year?
I mean, Tennessee. You have to beat Tennessee to. I mean,
Ric Flair rule. You got
to beat the king. You got to beat the king. And so, it's interesting that the two teams that have been considered number one or number two in all the polls we play first 2 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah. Welcome to our league.
But I mean, like looking on paper though, A&M is just friggin' loaded. But I mean, LSU is too. Florida is. Tennessee is. Arkansas is. I think is it Arkansas's pitching that they think is the best, best in the country. So
most guys on that team touch 96, 97. I mean, they're just all, just power arms across that team. Couldn't hit a lick last year, but they got the arms to carry them.
Right. And I don't know that their offense is going to be great this year either, but
no.
This SEC schedule.
Yeah. So for our listeners or viewers, as it will be, here's your SEC schedule. You go to A&M, Tennessee comes to us, Oklahoma comes to us. We go to Auburn. This is April 4, 5, 6. So you give you an idea of the timing of these. Mississippi State comes to us. We went there last year, 2 years in a row going to Auburn, just the way the schedule worked out. We go to LSU. Missouri comes to us. You maybe expect them to be improved. I mean, who knows? You just never know what you might get there. We go to Vandy. We have Georgia at home. We went there, got swept last year. Has some familiar faces on that team, and then we finish going to Florida. So there's just no break in there, right, Meghan?
No.
No, not like
no.
Not one bit, but I think if we take last year's approach where there were some of the teams where we were like, oh, I'm glad like we have this team, like we thought, playing Kentucky, it was going to be a benefit. And that was a rude awakening.
We said the same thing with Georgia as well.
I think
Kentucky
it's always,
and Georgia last
really
year was
anybody out.
There's just no break in there, and I mean you can look at it and think, well, at least we got them at home, and we Tennessee, we took 2 or 3 from Tennessee at home. We went to we played A&M pretty well at home last year, and then we kind of went downhill in that second game, but we pulled off that third one. And even you look at the teams that were down on the lower end, I think the expectation is Missouri will be better. Vanderbilt, by the time the year wound out last year had gotten a lot better, even though it wasn't the stellar type Vandy.
Not their normal team, no.
Right. Georgia's a game away from the College World Series and one of the top teams all year. Florida was right there at the thick of it. LSU always gets better because they no matter who they lose, they just go get their there's such a great spot portal wise. And as much as we hate to admit it, Auburn last year was an anomaly. I think we can all agree on that, right? Is that you won't see that type of Auburn team again this year.
You can always hope.
You can always.
Yeah, I mean that's what 2 years in a row they hadn't made the SEC tournament. Is that right?
No, they hosted a regional in 2013.
Oh, that's right.
Lost to Pennsylvania.
They went 2-0. So
that's when Cohen screwed us.
They had a good team last year. I mean, somebody has to lose these games, and you just kind of have to hope it's not you. So they seems like they reloaded a lot in the portal and signed some pretty good freshmen. So they're doing all they can to make sure that they're
right. And they're a little bit of a darling in some of these, the D1 rankings and that sort of thing. They're just popping up in that top 25, whereas we're kind of on that fringe 25 to 30 somewhere in there. I expect them to be better. I mean, I really do. I think they're I mean, they got bats up and down that lineup, and the pitching was dreadful last year. But when you watched them, it didn't feel like the pitching should have been that bad. I mean, they had some injuries and all, which we all kind of deal with. So
and then it was good the last weekend of the season, unfortunately.
that's right. Yeah, two nights of the, or a game and a half anyway. It was pretty darn good. Yeah. So the 13 and 17 in the conference last year. When you get right down to it, and we'll talk about it when we talk about pitching and guys we lost. You think about that Sunday game with Mississippi State and the third game with Auburn, which I guess was on Saturday last year. That Saturday night game with Auburn. I mean, those were two games that you really had your back against the wall to get to that 13, and that were key wins. Both Ben Hess gyms, by the way, pitching gyms that really it kind of vaulted us, and really were probably the difference in really walking away very probably disappointed with your season versus pretty pleased with the way that first year shaped out, given all the circumstances the team played with. So that kind of frames the schedule. Let's talk about the Jimmies and Joes here on the roster. We'll start with pitching, and big losses. Obviously, you're the guys that ate a lot of innings for you, Ferrone and Hess, who were going whether it's Friday, Sunday, so some combination. They were doing 2 or 3 weekend games that both threw 70-ish innings each, so they moved on, got pro contracts. AD moves on to Georgia, and ate up a lot of innings on the back end, 30-something innings that he chewed up. But you get some guys back, and obviously Zane Adams is going to be a star, and as we observed in his his outings in the fall and a couple of those scrimmage games. I can't remember if I think we had him throwing a little bit on I don't think he threw in the Clemson game, but I think one of the scrimmages before that.
Right.
He threw it at FSU.
Yeah. He really, he's developed a change up. He's matured into his body a little bit. He looked yoked. I mean, he's a big kid, but he didn't just look as big last year. He was still a kid. Now he looks like a grown ass man. And is going to be out there either Friday or Saturday night for us pretty much every night this week. How excited we to see that with him coming back?
For sure. When we were sitting there and he started throwing that change up for the first time, like even his dad was sitting over to my left, and he was like, "Where did that come from?"
Yeah.
I mean, it was just filthy.
Yeah, I looked up a couple of those scouts up there, and I could tell they weren't expecting that. But
I mean, it was 82, 84, 86, 80. I mean, like it just location was just, and then and then he's pumping 94, 95, 96.
Yeah.
He like you said, he's taking you can just look at him, like you say, you can tell he's matured, and he looks comfortable out there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And confident in what he's doing.
Yeah. Best thing I've seen since probably last, since one of those weekends has been the videos you sent of Riley Quick on the mound the other day. And just really, like you said, and I think the comment I said to you is he looks really comfortable out there. Drew, pretty you're close to that situation. You know Wayne and those guys.
I mean,
I know you're really excited about that, aren't we?
I'm not sure what Wayne if he tells me this in confidence or not, but we'll talk about it anyway. But yeah, they're expecting him to be ready for week 1 to be in the starting rotation. So that's really impressive to me because he tore the UCL, had Tommy John like after the first weekend,
right?
And
3
these
innings.
days, you're starting to see guys. They're not back in a year like they used to be. And he's a kid. He's just busted his tail to get back. I mean, I think some of these kids, they may have agents telling them, I'll just chill out, kind of shut down for the draft. I mean, we may have, seems like we had a pitcher a few years ago, I can't remember his name, that started out strong and then just stopped pitching for a while. But, Riley Quick is an Alabama guy, and I think it means a lot to him to, to wear the uniform. And, let's be real. I mean, he's, we'd love to see him pitch for 3 more years and pay him $2 million in NIL money to pitch for us for 3 more years, but he's going to hopefully have a really good year and get drafted because of what he can do with his arm. So really excited to see him back. And I hope that I hope that he is rewarded with a really good season based on how hard he's worked to come back. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I haven't seen him throw. I don't know if any of you guys have or not, but you will, I guess, in the next weekend or two. But obviously a hard thrower, big kid, 2-time 7A pitcher of the year in high school. So he's kind of got that dog in him there,
And
just
that
we just have
football mentality too.
yeah,
exactly.
a lineman. He's just beat kids around for 4 years at the high school level. So, it's just you sign guys like him and Ben Hess, and you sit there and you hope that you'll get 3 dominant years out of him. That's what but it doesn't work out like that because of injury. I mean, sometimes kids just get hurt, especially pitchers. So, that's why with Ben Hess last year, I was so excited to see him finish like he did after struggling in the middle of the season and then get drafted in the first round. So hopefully we'll get a great year out of Riley and obviously Zane as well. I haven't seen him pitch since the season. You guys have, so I'm just relying on that and just really looking forward to hopefully a good 1-2 punch.
Yeah. The thing I see about Riley, is he comes in out of high school as a football guy, right? He's built like an offensive lineman. He's probably carrying 30, 40 pounds more than he is now. I think, and he's slimmed down. He looks the part of a pitcher. It takes a little while to get out of that football body into that baseball body, but he certainly looks that way. So there's 2 pieces that we know are there. What are we thinking of? And this evolves, obviously. This kind of happens. You always kind of have those 2. Sometimes you don't know very clearly who your third is. What are you thinking that third slot of the weekends?
Just total.
Yeah.
From what I've been there and seeing, and I mean, not talking to anybody or
no
anything. I think Tyler Fay is considered, possibly Hagan Banks.
Yeah.
And possibly Bo Bryans.
Yeah.
Who, we saw him, Paul, a couple of times look really
good. Yeah.
And I don't know if they're, it just depends on where they want guys, bullpen wise, with we have more lefties now, but limited number of lefties. Sometimes you need a couple of guys in the pen. And surprisingly, Tate Robertson was really sharp all fall. And I'm thinking maybe more possibly could be midweek or go with one of the good freshmen that looked so good.
Yeah.
And I don't know that Pesci or Lehman or Cottrell, not Cottrell, but not JT Black, but one other. I don't know that they'd be considered right now for Sunday. But possibly be midweek starters or split them up. So those
the other one you got. I mean, you got Finateri, that came over. Finateri that came over from Georgia Tech. That got chewed up a lot of innings. He's thrown a lot of weekend games in ACC play, and I hadn't seen him pitch because I guess he was kind of shut down for the fall. But there's one there that you probably can't discount.
Right.
Maybe, even if it starts as midweek and kind of evolves into weekend, but a guy that's been through a lot of battles and thrown against some pretty high caliber players over the years. I think I look back, it chewed up 60, 80 innings, some big number of innings for them.
I did finally see him throw one day this week or last week through some live batters, and I mean, like he's solid. I mean, he's not not necessarily going to blow you away with what you see, but he does have the experience, which is huge.
Right. Meghan, you were there all the time. You've seen, Fay and Heiberger, those guys. What do you think about those guys extending? We've seen them go 2.5, 3 innings, that type of thing. You think you got a horse out there you think you would bet on to be able to extend?
Uh, I mean, it's hard not having seen them as much in the fall as years
Mm,
past to have a strong opinion on it. But like I did get to see him in FSU, and like Tyler
mm,
Fay was out there and he looked good. And you look at like
mm.
what he was doing, last season and what he was doing over in the summer. I think, Fay has that stuff that's there that
Yeah,
can easily be transferable.
sure.
So I think that's the one that would be kind of my expectation to be the next step up.
Yep. That's kind of what I thought. Roger mentioned him too. And I was like, when you saw him throw a lot last year and you saw the way he mixed up pitches and the way he kind of got, made guys miss barrels or maybe, with the breaking stuff, you really looked at him and projected, hey, this guy could be you felt like he could be a starter. You probably just kind of grow into it a little bit. And he kind of seemed to have the little bit of an elastic arm. You could throw him midweek, throw him again on Friday, maybe get him out there in inning Sunday. Heiberger was a little bit like that, but eventually kind of wore down a little and came around. Don't forget Austin Morris. I mean, another guy's thrown a lot of innings out of our pen. Has been there. I like to think of these guys that have been in the battles. That's why Finateri kind of sticks out to me, just because it's somebody, whether you pull his ERA and it was 5 or 6 or whatever the hell it was, it's still
Right.
that if you chew up those kind of innings, you're managing, you're doing your part for your team, because you might be in there on a Sunday when it's a 9-8 game or a 12-11 game, and you got to get me 4 innings or get me 5 innings, and that's
Right.
the kind of thing you might need there. I
Don't
feel really
forget,
good about this. I feel personally a lot better about the pitching staff probably going into the year than maybe I do about the offense and replacing the production that we lost on that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
What about you?
true. Very, very deep staff. I mean, we hadn't mentioned Moza, if he
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
bounced back to his 23 form,
Right.
and Beasy, who's looked really good. And
Yeah. Yeah. Brand, yeah, new young guy. I mean, he still ought to be going through freshman orientation, right?
um, yes, and we hadn't seen Jonathan Stevens, and they like,
Yeah.
excuse me,
Yeah. Yeah.
Osmer really looks
Does look good. Yeah.
leader as the closer at this point.
Closer type. Yeah.
Yeah,
Closer type. I feel good about him in that role. Obviously, AD had kind of been in that slot the last couple of years. I don't think we miss a beat there, honestly. I mean, I think AD, could come in and really pump it up mid 90s and get after guys and could get the crowd into it. I think people are going to like what they see with Osmer if that's indeed who kind of falls in that role. Drew, my thought on that again, the pitching staff I feel better about than maybe the offensive production. What are your thoughts as we kind of slip
Yeah.
into the everyday lineup?
I was at the Clemson series or the Clemson doubleheader. I think I left
Mhm.
about 2 innings to go in the last game. But yeah, feeling pretty good about that. I think Fay will probably have the first chance to be the other weekend pitcher. I
Third.
think I mean, he pitched a lot in the Cape this summer, so he just you
Yeah.
know, I think he's 6'5" or 6'6", isn't he? Throwing mid
Yeah. Big
90s.
deal.
So I
Yeah.
think that's probably you want him to be that guy. And then, I was praising Riley Quick for coming back from that injury so soon. Hagan Banks is the same way. I mean, he
Exactly.
tore his elbow up even later in the season. So
Yeah.
for him to come back is also very impressive.
Mhm.
So hopefully he's able to find a big role with the pitching staff, maybe even as a midweek starter, because he's been there. He's pitched some innings before. So,
Mhm.
and then I'm also rooting for Aiden Mosa to get his groove back. I mean, you look at him last year, and boy, it just those numbers are awful. But the thing is, he just kept going out there. He didn't seem
Yeah.
like he was ever scared to compete.
Just
And
grind
yeah,
through it. Yeah.
and I think it was really, I want to say I read an article, maybe it was D1 baseball, that you know it's just he would just kind of have like 10 perfect pitches, and then that 11th pitch would be a bad one, and he'd get
Yeah.
roped for a double, and then he'd walk a guy or bounce four of them in the dirt, and it just kind of all snowballed. And then he'd come back and pitch well, a few batters, and I think he had his moments at the end of the year.
Yeah. He
Maybe
did.
in that
Yep.
Auburn and Ole Miss, I can't remember Auburn, Ole Miss. Got rocked in the SEC tournament, but um, I keep having faith in him every time they bring him out
Exactly.
there. So
Right.
he's a guy. He's a guy I'd like to see finish out his career with a
No,
bang.
I agree. Megan, we touched on Banks a little bit. I mean, Banks' injury was during the Georgia weekend, which I think was the second weekend of the season last year, if I remember right. Was it the second? I'll
I think maybe third.
third weekend. We
Oh,
went to Kentucky.
Wasn't it Tennessee at home and then Georgia there?
yeah, I think that's right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to
And then-
remember I was trying to remember if we went to Georgia or we went to Kentucky the second weekend, but it may have been a little bit later to Kentucky. But that was in the one of those games that he so he's probably 6 or so weeks behind when
But
Riley tore his, but
he also didn't have a total tear.
it wasn't total. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So they've both been back throwing for a while.
Right. Megan, anyone else on the pitching staff that you're excited to see, or you think could be a big contributor, a dark horse, or a breakout type guy?
I don't know if it'd be a breakout, but I think, we got to touch on Braylon Myers as
Yeah.
always. Of like,
Yeah.
we've seen it the last 2 years. He just in and he finds a ways to get out. It's not gonna be overly impressive, but
Mhm.
he comes in and does his job. And
Right.
I don't expect anything less with him coming into senior season.
Yeah, and he's jumped up the velocity a little bit. I think we've seen that.
Yeah. We saw he's finally over 90. Up
Yeah.
in the low 90s.
Yeah, it was impressive. Yep. All right. So again, I think we're comfortable with pitching staff. Let's talk everyday players. All right, listen, you go up and down your lineup last year. You lose Gage Miller, who was your leadoff guy all year. Your most productive home run hitter. You lose T.J. McCants, who's every day in center field, hit a lot of home runs. Not as splits in the SEC weren't as great, but I mean he was solid enough player. Ian Petrud, Evan Slight, kind of played the corner positions. Bryce Evelyn at second, for several years, and then of course the your mainstay back there behind the plate with Matt Gassetti. That's it's a lot of production that you lose with those guys. How do you feel about what's coming in behind those guys?
And Hammy too.
And Hammy, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Who was like the story of the season the last.
Right.
4 or 5 weekends. Yep.
Potentially, I think, like you said, it's a lot of production. It's going to be hard to replace Gage's production.
Exactly. Yeah.
But like defensively and athletically and speed wise and all the spots that are being replaced, I think we're equal and with potential
upgrade.
Potential.
Defensively,
overall athletic, overall offensive production from them. Both Richie and Bonamalo and Fowler in center or right, whichever order they. I thought all along it was going to be Richie in the center and Fowler.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Now they've started to question it a little bit because they're both good there.
Right.
I think they think both of them can handle center field great. It's whichever one's the best and right.
Yeah. Who's got the better arm, you think?
Richie? I think Bryce might.
Bryce does? Okay, yeah. Because I would think you bet your better arm maybe goes to right? And then, the guy that covers most ground in center, but maybe they're just interchangeable.
And I think Richie probably has more speed, but Bryce can run. I mean, he's like 5-tool kind of guy.
Yeah. So this is Bryce Fowler we're talking about for the viewers. Bryce Fowler, who transferred in from Pearl River Community College from Madison, Mississippi, and then of course Richie Bonamalo, who also came over from a community college up in New York or New Jersey. Was it New Jersey or was it?
No, he was like Iowa, Wabash.
Yeah, that's right, Wabash. But he's from the Bronx.
He's from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And he, but known as base stealer and defender.
Yeah. Right. Megan, go ahead.
Oh, I was just kind of going across that in it.
Right.
Captain Snell leading left field, and then Coleman Mizell Boyle is battling for some time out there, and Plattner was battling for a little outfield time, but he's not going to probably be able to do that now since we're down to two catchers.
Yeah, two catchers. Yeah.
Luke,
With some
Luke Vaughn
injuries.
getting hurt.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Luke Vaughn with an injury and probably be on the shelf. Could be the year. Brady Neal comes in. Catcher. We list him as a catcher. He's going to become a utility guy. Can play a little middle infield too, or play some third, maybe play some second. Came in from LSU. Was a big contributor for them. Probably your mainstay at catcher all year now, especially. Definitely. I think some things to look for to me are you go back to Gage's production, and can we get something, and it doesn't have to be what Gage produced, because Gage had a phenomenal year, and you're not going to get that from just anyone walking in. But I think a key is Garrett Staten and who's transferring in from Sanford, and power hitter guy, hit a lot of homers for them. If you can get 60-70% of Gage's production out of from whether it be Garrett or some combo at third, to me, I think that's key, because I think we're gonna have, and we talked about this on one of the other podcasts or last year sometime. It's clear to me that the type of ball Rob and his staff want to play is more station to station, get guys on the run, be aggressive on the bases. And you just weren't built for that last year. And Fowler and Bonamalo go a long way to making you more like that this year. So your long ball numbers might come down just based on, take this guy in the lineup, put this guy in. But, the things the guys can do at the bat to move runners along, or take a pitch to let the guy steal, to get a guy in scoring position. I think that's a little more. Meghan, what do you think? You think you might see more of that out of Alabama this year?
I sure hope so, because I think that's something, preseason last year we talked about. We were going to be a team that steals. We're going to be a team that, gets on base and moves guys over. And then I feel like all year that's what we talked about. Is like, well,
right.
That's what we thought we were going to see, and then we didn't see it.
It didn't.
So that seems to kind of, like you said, be kind of like Rob's MO, but we got to have the guys there. And I want to now.
Yep.
Well, and for all Gage did, which was amazing, he didn't even have a stolen base attempt.
No, as your leadoff guy,
right? As your leadoff.
Yeah.
Rob loves having a power guy in the leadoff spot. I mean, that's kind of his MO.
Right. And you see that a lot nowadays with some different teams. Like you randomly, LSU will have one of the power guys up there. You see that a little more in college baseball.
Yeah. And, once again, like all fall, looked like probably Richie, and then they, like, because of them doing inter-squad scrimmages, Bryce and Richie both played center field, both led off for the top teams a lot.
Right.
And so it could be either one of them, and they both have power. I think Bryce might have more raw power, but Richie can hit the long ball as well.
Right. We talked around the infield a little bit, and then it got to a point. Connor Norton, another guy that we'll see. I'm sorry, not Connor. I'm reading Connor off of here. We got another Connor. Norton will be probably likely your every day at second. I mean, at least a starter, at least in contention there. And you got guys like John Young Jr., who could play either second or play short. I'm right. I think we hope to see a lot from him. You may have to get him in midweek and get him going. But I think he's the kind of guy that with time, I mean, he's going to be a star. I really think, but it's kind of hard for him to be a star at the position he's ultimately going to be a star at when the guy at shortstop is such a star already.
Right.
We're talking about Justin LeBron.
Yes, and I think he'll play some. JYJ will play some second, could play some third, and just depending on when, maybe a little shortstop with. I mean, LeBron played almost every inning there last year.
Right.
So the one game in center field, and then maybe a couple of games where Ebbs moved over there and played for one or two.
Yeah, field inning. Yeah,
but
LeBron was a legend in center field that day.
Yes, he was.
And of course, we're talking about
best center fielder in the league.
That's right. Yeah,
I mean, he probably is. He'd probably be an All-American center fielder if he was
he
playing
probably
that
could.
position
Yeah,
too. So
he looked very comfortable out there, as we talked about Riley earlier.
He's played a lot. He's played a lot out there growing up, so it wasn't new to him.
Yeah, and then you've got newcom. Well, first of all, we hadn't mentioned him, but Will Hodo's back. That very rare 4-year, 5-year type guy you're going to see. You don't see that much now in college baseball. A guy that shows up his freshman year and stays all the way through his eligibility running out. Big power guy. I mean, I think it hit it. You've seen him hit some big bombs over the years, and I think we're going to be really dependent on him. Little challenged, obviously, at first base defensively, but another year under his belt doing that. I think hopefully better there. But we've got Jason Torres transferring in from Miami, who, while the bat, maybe the legend of the bat precedes him, we probably didn't see that this fall. But man, he can pick it over there at first, can he?
He sure can. And the few times, this spring, if you want to call it, the ball's jumping off his bat.
It's jumping, yeah.
A whole lot better than it was in this fall.
Yeah, he was recovering from some stuff.
Right. Yeah, just new place, recovering from surgery, all that, and yeah, he's got fantastic hands. As a matter of fact, he's been taking balls at third base as well. And he picks it. He scoops everything that's hit that way.
Mm-hmm. Drew feels like one of these teams, kind of like you used to see at LSU, where they just go recruit a bunch of shortstops and then figure out where you're going to play them. Maybe what we're hearing in some of these instances.
Yeah, what I was going to say about Torres was in that second, he played the second game of the Clemson doubleheader, and he turned a 3-6-3 double play that was just as slick as better than I can remember in a long, long time. That even goes past Drew Williamson and guys before that. So I think if I hope he can hit because he did at Miami.
He did,
because he's just an incredible defender. I mean, I'd love to see. Also, love you mentioned John Young Jr. earlier. Got to meet his parents, and Mr. Young. I call him Mr. Young. He's 5 years younger than I am, but he said I'm able to talk bad about John if he struggles, but I won't do that. But he had I remember he had a nice opposite field hit. So man, in a dream world, it's like this guy's coming in and playing like LeBron as a freshman, and then LeBron's playing center field, and then Bonamolo and Fowler are on the corner. But I don't think it's really. I don't think that's what we promised LeBron to get him back. So I think we have a lot of options, and there's probably guys we haven't even talked about, like Andre Maduno, who may have a chance to play a lot. I don't know about a lot, but some. Got to get these guys at bats somehow, some way.
You got to get them. Yeah,
don't want them to leave, but just kind of excited to see how that plays out because we got some senior transfers and we got some young guys who I think look the part.
Yeah. Meghan, if you had to pick a guy of the everyday, any of these we mentioned or not mentioned, who do you see making a big jump? Kind of your breakout guy.
I want it to be Brady Neal, just because replacing Matt Cassetti. Anytime you're replacing a catcher who's been there is hard, and from what I've seen and seeing him at LSU a little bit last year too, the kid's got stuff. And so I think that's definitely going to be a benefit to us and just kind of being that mainstay, especially now that we're down Luke Vaughn too. That's another person that's got to be willing to work behind that plate.
Yeah. Unfortunately, because he played well in the fall, played well in this summer, and, had a good fall.
Really good defensive catcher.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I would say because of that and because of the fall he had, Will Plattner.
Yeah.
Because he's going to get some run at catcher, and then they were probably had a shot at doing some right-handed DHing and maybe occasionally in the corner outfields, but with only 2 catchers really on the roster, that kind of cuts down a lot of your flexibility of what you can do with guys. Because even like Brady, like you mentioned, was playing second, he was playing right field. He was taking balls at third base, able to move both of them around. And if if one DHs and one catches, it's kind of like somebody gets hurt. You're you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, definitely bears watching what happens there, and hopefully doesn't get any worse. The unfortunate thing is you got a list. I got a list in front of me of 45 guys. Obviously there would be some red shirts or whatever on here. You're gonna have some injuries. I mean, you inevitably you're gonna have them, and it's just you hate it for any of them, and you hate it for the team, but it's just where can you afford it, right? And there's certain key spots on this team where you just can't afford it, right? And I think catcher is probably the biggest one. Now that you got one down, and I'll, you might lose a pitcher, and no, you don't want to lose a pitcher, but you've
got a lot of guys. Yeah,
you got a lot of guys, and I want to be kind of hypothetical on that. So again, I think the consensus. I mean, we feel good about pitching. It'd be easier to feel better about the everyday if you kind of knew how it was going to shape up. But I think there's about 100 different ways it could go between now and February 14th, much less March 14th when we get into SEC play. So a lot of that's just gonna shake out in that first 17, 18 games and these first dozen scrimmages between now and then. Before we go tonight, I think the last thing I wanted to touch on, and because obviously we'll get more into these guys and specifics we get into it as the season goes on. Let's just talk about the game in general and the environment of college baseball and some of the rule changes or the rule of the roster development, things like that we're going to see shape up here in the next few years, and your thoughts on them. I'd mention one of the rules or one of the changes specifically, but I've heard about 10 different versions of it. I don't know how they're going to go. The roster limitations. What's our feelings on that? And if somebody versed in it want to give an idea where we think that's going.
Well, they were throwing around a hard 34 that when school started, you had to have your 34.
Right.
Last thing I saw, what they say, 38.
38.
38. And then cut to 34 by December.
By December, yeah.
Or come up with 34 by December.
Right.
With 34, I mean, doesn't really leave room for red shirts or anything.
No.
Particularly because, injuries injuries domino, it seems like.
Right.
You get one, you're going to get 3 or 4.
Exactly.
Point. So I don't
know
where they're going to go with that.
Yeah. And to give everybody a general idea, I mean, like this fall, we had 50 guys out there, right? 49, 50, something like that. I maybe counting guys injured or not.
52.
52, okay.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that, to be honest with you. I know we're not the only school does that. I kind of wish it was. I wish we had we should have 40 with maybe 43 in the fall. But, sometimes also guys are the 36th player on the roster, may be a junior who wants to transfer or a sophomore who wants to go to JUCO and play. But, it's going to be tough. There's going to be a few teams that just get too many injuries throughout the year, and then it gets to be the 8th weekend of conference play, and you can't even dress out a full 27. So
exactly.
Just hope it's not you.
Right, because like Drew says, when you get into conference play, especially you're the road team, you can only travel 27 guys. And of course the pandemic and the COVID year and whatnot kind of jacked this up for everybody. We're kind of we're coming out from under that at this point. But the thing to me that I see would be so much different the more you reduce that down is that that fall camp. The fall camp to me seemingly is going to be less and less productive because you got guys that probably are going to go off and still do their summer their summer stints, and maybe they shorten their summer stints, or maybe they but I mean that's where they tend to get seen by the scouts a little more maybe. And if you start shortening those summer stints, or the guys go to the summer stints and they come back in the fall, and you have guys like us by that last weekend, we had half the pitching staff shut down just because it's like, load management.
Right.
How do you do that with 34 or even, 38?
And you can't, and how do you have inter squad when you have 16 position, 15
Exactly. Yeah.
players
Right.
or whatever. I guess that's the problem you have to figure out. You put a manager out there, you put a minor league,
Yeah. Whole club team.
You put club team, you put one of your minor league kids that's back to the, hanging out there.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know don't know what the answer is.
No. We've talked about it in other, in other topics or in other segments on different podcasts here before, Meghan, but think about the kind of the ecosystem if that's a buzzword of baseball. You got high school, you got JUCO, you got D2, D3, you got our guys in D1, and then on up to minors. Does all of this, we start limiting rosters, then you got less spots on these college teams for the high school kid coming out, to start up, because he's probably not going to be very competitive with the 22-year-old guy that's transferred after playing 3 years, somewhere else, and comes down with 600-700 bats under it. Do you see it benefiting the JUCO system more? Maybe the D2s and D3s get guys they weren't going to get before. And do you end up, or a lot of your programs end up being just very, very limited on what they do as far as high school recruiting, aside from, I really got to get these 4 or 5 superstars, and the rest of it I can fill in.
I think that's 100% the direction that's going to be if it falls through, especially if it ends up being that hard 34 of
Yeah.
what can they do when for better or worse, the transfer portal kind of gives you a better idea of what you're going to get versus these high school guys. You want to hope you can develop them, but they're still, 18, 19 years old, and there's only so much you can get in it, especially if, you're having to make that decision on whether or not they're even allowed to be there, period, if we're taking out those red shirts before December, or even, that has to be done before even school starts. So you can't bring them to campus. You can't
bring them. Yeah.
spend the resources recruiting them at that point.
Right. And the stigma, Drew, the stigma, if I want to call it that, has totally been broken of, look at A&M. Look at where they're pulling in guys from. I mean, they're pulling in guys from Penn, and Penn is basically A&M's farm club at this point. It's like,
we got a couple of guys from Penn, don't we?
Yeah.
We followed
We've
had some Ivy League success over the years with Tommy Seidel and all that.
Right. But it kind of, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, it feels like the D2, D3 Ivy League, these places, guys are going to go there because it's like, hey, I can get my 300-400 at bats over a couple of years, and then maybe I get noticed to go to Alabama or LSU or Georgia.
I think it's like that in all sports. Maybe I'm the idiot here. I didn't know that in that House settlement, I didn't know that House was a person. Did y'all know that?
Yes.
Originally, I thought it was the House of Representatives or something. But
about 2 weeks ago, I found out that House was an actual, the guy's last name suing the NCAA was House.
Was it like a player, or
he was like a swimmer or something like that?
A swimmer, okay.
There was a big article about how this guy became the face of it, and I just kept hearing the House settlement. Okay, yes. So I'm I needed to bring that up, bud, and see if I was the only one here.
It's okay to confess that sort of thing here. You can.
I know only about 1 million people are watching this.
That's right. But yeah, so not big fans of the rule changes.
No,
it's change. Change is coming, right?
Yeah, it's really started more with the football and the basketball. It's trickled down. You have 10 schools suspending baseball. Problem is they're all in the SEC, but we do what we can. I think we've got a competitive bunch, and we'll be picked probably 12th in the SEC. I don't know if you were going to segue into SEC predictions at this point, but I think we'll have a competitive bunch. Just gonna have to win a few that we shouldn't, but we did that last year. You think about that Tennessee series, Gage Miller hitting that home run in the 8th inning. That was probably, to me, the 2 biggest hits of the season last year were the Gage Miller home run and the Max Grant grand slam against Mississippi State, because they got us wins that we probably
wouldn't have. Yeah.
people didn't think we were going to get based on the situation. Obviously, the Mississippi State was all the illnesses, but yeah, we're just. I think we may have to win games like Kentucky did. Kind of playing that scrappy type of ball, and I think we've got talented guys who can do that if our pitchers stay healthy.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Any closing thoughts, Meghan, Roger, anybody?
Just getting anxious for the season and some warmer weather.
And warmer weather. Yeah.
So they start this weekend, is that right? On Friday?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll be looking forward to your play-by-play twits.
I hope I'm still not stuck out way out in right.
Stuck out right field, yeah. A little bit of a renovation going on in the Joe, a little more of a maintenance and upkeep type thing, and I think they've kind of pushed the crowds out for now. So Roger's out there, and Roger's out there. There's 6 beers in the right field.
They've got chain link fence up with notes,
Yeah.
For me, because I'm the only one that's been out there. Do not walk on this part of it.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Well, good. Well, Meghan, appreciate you joining us. Stay warm there. Let us know if you get any intel on the chance in advance of our weekend date with them in about 4 weekends.
Hey, Paul, let's throw out the banquet.
Absolutely.
First pitch dinner on February 1st.
Yeah.
At the Tuscaloosa River Mart.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I'm going to pull it up.
If somebody can put that up on the or whatever, however you did that.
Yeah. I'll make sure I'll maybe tweet it out from the Weekly Joe. Follow us, by the way, at Weekly Joe Pod.
We are. I understand there's a little over half the tables or places have been sold. So we need to sell more. Got some exciting things going on. Going to have some door prizes and auction items, and going to be catered by the Southern Ale House.
Yeah.
Going to have cocktail hour at 5, and then I think it's from 6 to 8.
6. Yeah, it's a 6 to 9.
6 to 9 p.m.
6 to 9. Okay.
Yep.
And the players will wait on the tables of the ones that that have tables. So looking like I think a max of a little over 300 people.
Yeah.
So should be a good event. A little something different than what we've used to do with the barbecues and stuff. We did try a first pitch dinner with golf, but that was a whole different story.
Somebody showed up with their shirt untucked, and
and he had one of his the old Kentucky coach came to speak and gave a 2-hour soliloquy on how great Greg Goff was.
Pretty
much the whole thing.
So this is the first pitch banquet, February 1st, 2025, at the River Market in Tuscaloosa. That is on Jack Warner Parkway, 1900 Jack Warner Parkway. Again, 6 to 9. Actually, cocktail hour, happy hour, 5 to 6. If you're a Yay Alabama subscriber, you probably get an email from them. It's info available on the Yay Alabama website. General admission ticket $100, VIP ticket $150. So we'll pump that up, but that's on February 1st, so a week and change from now. It's a Saturday evening.
They've been getting some items together, and I've been helping out trying to get some different things. So I've got a pair of boxing gloves signed by Deontay.
Okay, cool.
Crime Dog's supposed to send me a box of stuff. I hope it gets signed. Alex Avila is mailing some things in, and some other guys. So we'll get some stuff from around town, some gift certificates and things like that. So it should be a good event, and love for everybody to come.
I look forward to it. All right. Well, thanks. Well, thanks to our panel again, Drew, Roger, Meghan, as usual. Really appreciate y'all joining on. Thanks to Crimson Crossover. Thanks to Christian Sykes for putting this all together. Follow them for all the great basketball content, and follow us right here throughout the year on the Weekly Joe. We'll be back we promise we'll record one of these before the season starts, get you a little more behind the scenes intel. Follow us on Twitter at Weekly Joke Pod, and you'll be able to see these podcasts up wherever you enjoy your podcast. We'll get this out. Retweet us, follow us, subscribe, and we hope to see you down the road again soon. Thanks for joining us.
Good to
Roll
see you
Tide.
all time.